Hello, everyone, and welcome back from the Twitches. We are here. That was a much longer break than I intended, but we needed to rehydrate and dehydrate and get everything ready.
I'm super dehydrated, by the way.
I know, right?
I drank like 97 bottles of wine this weekend.
From all the Greek food as well that you were eating at all of your lunch meetings that you've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just desiccates yourself.
I'm sweating garlic and wine.
Perhaps you have the death curse.
Oh.
Have you ever thought about that?
Perhaps I do.
Yeah, I mean, there is a real soulmonger out there.
Yeah?
I mean, we haven't talked about that in any of the Laura You Should Know segments, but that's based on a real person.
Well, you better do something.
That's it. We're going.
Solve it.
Last segment we were talking about taking a plane to Seoul, but maybe we need to be going to like Rio and like going into the jungles of the Amazon.
Ugh.
Oh my gosh.
Does the death curse smell like Pinot Grigio and garlic?
Yes, actually. I think that's canon.
I got it.
You got it.
I got the death curse.
You got it. Hey, this is even more amazing for you people on the Twitch who may be listening and the chatting. We're going to do the real intro in a second. But the Taking Initiative episode for Podcast of Annihilation just went live onto the RSS feed. I just got the notification that it happened.
Whoa.
It's a real thing. In the universe, Nerd Poker went up earlier today, but now the Taking Initiative one is live.
Just
it's
knocking
live.
out the content.
That's it. We got content for days.
Content
up
for
and down
days.
and all over town.
Well, good.
How are you guys doing out there? Thank you so much for paying attention and listening. I think someone in here, and I wanted to call them out specifically by name, but I might not get that in time. But I think it was you. It was you, yes, Green Man 101. You said, I love this channel.
Aww.
In a very just heartfelt way. You were like, oh, what's going on? Because we were talking about you were going to play Betrayal of Baldur's Gate. And then we told him the time, and he's like, I love this channel. Or
we love you
she
too.
said, I love this channel. And we love you too. Thank you so much. Speaking of which, you can actually subscribe here to the Dungeons & Dragons Twitch channel. It's $5, $4.99. Sorry, you will save 1 cent from $5.
Special deal.
You get no ads when you watch stuff, and you will be having access to a ampersand badge in front of your name, as well as lots of fun emotes out there. I don't know why Bart still has not yet implemented the Shelly emote.
Because he knows I'll probably punch him in the throat.
What if it's just like Pinot Grigio and garlic?
A scratch and sniff.
Is that good? No. Smell-o-vision is coming through.
I think it should be the badger with the berserker axe.
I think that's actually like,
or if it could be me with a berserker
Badger
axe.
Noble? Badger Noble?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll make it work.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I like that.
Yeah.
Massa Badger.
Massa Badger? Well, we thank you, and you guys are the best. And not Jez, you just subscribed through Twitch Prime. You are an amazing person, and I like what you do. And I don't think anyone's ever told you this before, but you really dress really well. Yeah, you got fashion sense.
You do.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you.
It's a good look on you.
It's good.
Yep.
Thank you. And Anna just said, "Oh my God, is that you, Shelly?"
Anna?
Yeah. Hi, Anna.
Anna?
How are you?
Hi, Anna. I didn't wear my bedazzled I Love Anna shirt.
You were saying before how very difficult it was for you to figure out what you were going to wear today.
I know.
Yeah.
I thought like maybe rhinestones and all these lights. Is that good or bad?
I'm going to go with good. I think shiny and sparkly is your brand.
Right.
So
it's very Avalon Hill too.
But also black because apparently you wear a lot of black things.
But not on Mondays because I thought I couldn't.
But now that we got these,
because Sean was like, by the way, nobody can see you. You're in the wall.
I guess that's. I mean, I'm looking at myself now, and I guess my black shirt does kind of. You don't really know where my shoulders begin and all that stuff. But
man, my posture again. I can't.
I know. I actually mine. Can we just get some massages on camera? Is that weird?
Yeah, is that?
That's not strange,
no.
Right? If we just have like a masseuse come in and.
I want hair and makeup too.
Oh, that's.
I got bit by like 1,000 mosquito bites. I'm sorry. I keep scratching my arm, but they're
in Seattle.
Yes.
What happened?
I don't know, but I feel like it's happened. Like now I have more. They're just popping. Maybe they're not mosquito bites.
Maybe it's the death curse. It's the death curse. It's happening for you.
Yeah.
That's one of the selling points I tell about people is because. That Seattle doesn't have mosquitoes, and now all of a sudden you're like proving it wrong.
Bites.
That's not right.
So anyway, sorry. I know I feel distracting to the Twitch audience because I'm like so itchy.
I think if you mask it with growls and snarls, I think it's okay. No one will care. You're
wild shaping.
You're just in character, right? Yeah, Shelly Mazabadger. All right, so that's it for the pre-intro. Now we got to do the actual intro.
Oh.
Shite. Welcome to Dragon Talk. How's everybody doing? We're very excited to be here for this very show. We have an amazing interview with Josh Peralt from Taking Initiative and his friend Bucky Masters.
Nice.
Yeah, they've been friends forever. Actually, it gets
Because of D&D.
Jonathan Buckmaster is his real name, but we'll just call him Bucky Barnes, and that makes it way easier. He's very cool, as is his friend Jolt. They've been friends for a very long time, and they played Dungeons and Dragons together. And he had the idea for Podcasts of Annihilation.
He came up with the idea?
Yeah, Josh did. Yeah.
Josh.
I know, right?
What other ideas does he have?
Many. We will have to ask him, what are 6 other ideas you've had?
Just ask him.
And we'll implement all of them. But for those of you who don't know, the Podcast of Annihilation is a program that's running right now and is available on the Dungeon Delve feed, which is different from the Dragon Talk feed. It's more of our live play games are all on Dungeon Delve. So there's tons of Acquisitions Incorporated, back when it started and how that all happened. And then now we have a whole bunch of other fun stuff coming from live audio creators. They liked what we were doing with video streaming, and they're like, wow, we want to get into it for audio play. And they're amazing. So we have Nerd Poker and Taking Initiative, Encounter Roleplay, Dungeon Rats, as well as God's Fall. That's Aram Bartian, who's been on the podcast. Sneak Attack, we had Reed on the podcast, as well as Lindsay. Drunks and Dragons, who we know from... I see, now I'm confused because we also have Dungeon Drunks, which are 2 different ones.
Right.
One of them is Mike, and one of them is Lauren. Right, exactly. So good people all around. Venture Maidens, D&D is for nerds, and You Meet in a Tavern.
I like that name.
Yes, all of those. They're very good. Yeah. And so, we're having 2 episodes each day of this week of when Tomb of Annihilation comes out live for the rest of the entire world. Those of you not just in your friendly local game store, but you can get it everywhere now. It is out. And they all took different tricks and turns, and some of them got together and played with each other on their episodes. It's really fun stuff. So we'll get into all of the idea generation behind that and how much fun it has been for them so far when we talk to Josh and
So they're
Bucky.
on each other's shows?
Yeah, some of them.
I love that. I like when after the stream of Annihilation and we saw people popping up, or during the stream too.
Exactly.
I love that.
I know. It's
love
good
it.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
But Tomb of Annihilation is out now, of course, as I said, so go check that out if you're interested, or some of these things that we've been talking about tickle your fancy. And you can get also on D&D Beyond and Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds, everywhere. The PAX West live show was also out there. It's the video on demand is available on twitch.tv/PAX. The YouTube video is also there. I think it's on the Acquisitions Incorporated playlist on the Penny Arcade channel for that. Extra Life is a thing that's coming up November 3rd and 4th. Starting with the D&D game in Madison, Wisconsin at Gamehole Con. We'll be streaming live on this channel. Routine. We're just going to call it Routine now.
Now we're just
It's Routine. It's Rudy.
So routine.
Rudy NC from Maze Arcana will be there, as well as Mike Merles is running a game. Chris Perkins, Chris Lindsay, a bunch of other people from
That's
the
awesome.
D&D team will be there, as well as some other fun guests. Starting it off, and then all day on Saturday, November 4th, I'll be hosting a bunch of other games that will be going on over the course of the entire thing.
Hosting or running?
I'll be hosting like the transitory stuff. So we'll have some people who are they're playing from all over the world. It'll just be like like a mini stream of Annihilation, basically, during this Extra Life thing.
Nice.
And all of the donations that you get will all be benefiting Extra Life, which goes towards Seattle Children's Hospitals, which is a fantastic thing. Speaking of which, there's stuff you can go to all those web pages right now. We'll put some links into the chat where you can donate money to that. But you can also purchase something called the Tortle Package. Right now, it's a PDF that has all of the information to play a turtle, which is an anthropomorphic turtle. There is a settlement in Schultz that is mentioned kind of in Tomb of Annihilation in passing. I think it's only got like a paragraph or 2 about it, but we go into a lot more detail into it. Chris Perkins and the rest of the story team had a fun time putting all that information in there about the turtle life cycle and how they all descend on this area to hatch their eggs and things, kind of like how South Pacific turtles all go back to the same beaches and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea.
Yeah,
it's cool. And then
Mike Merles hates them.
I know. I think he's just got a turtles. He thinks they're goofy, but and they are a little bit. But that's part of the fun. And even he said it was in support of helping kids out, so you can't go wrong there.
I think there's more to the story, though.
You can download all that stuff there, and all of the a good portion of the percentages will go towards Extra Life. So that's pretty exciting. Basically everything that Wizards would get from purchasing of that will all go towards Extra Life, which is fantastic. And then that will go and make more previews for Xanathar's Guide to Everything as we get more thresholds and things go on there. I haven't set up my page yet, but when I do, I'll start shilling that as well, where you can influence the game, give me some healing potions if I need to. I'll be playing in the game here in this here studio here on Saturday. So a lot of fun stuff happening.
Oh, fun.
Again, that is Extra Life, and starting November 3rd and 4th. All right.
All right.
What else do we have? We have so many other things going on.
Talk about this.
Of course. Oh, yeah. And that was talking about previews for Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Shelley was awesome enough to actually bring this in, as I've been talking about. This is the alternate cover you can only get in game stores on November 10th. Hydro 74 designed this. It's a nice little alternate cover. We're printing a small amount of them. You can only get them, and then when they're gone, they're gone. So check it out. It's very beautiful. It's got. We haven't really leaned into the gold or Art Deco for 5th edition. You know, I'm channeling my inner Shauna Wolf Narciso talking about all these design terms, but it's really neat, and I can't wait to get it. And it's got a nice. It's got a nice mouthfeel.
Yeah, you do want to just kind of touch it.
Just kind of touch it. Similar to Volo's Guide, it's got that kind of feel to it. So we're going to leave that there. Again, that's November 10th in game stores, and you'll get previews of it if you donate to Extra Life. Make it happen. Betrayal of Baldur's Gate coming out October 6th. We're psyched about that.
So excited.
There's lots of content. If you probably the previous episode of this very podcast, you might have heard an interview with Chris Dupuis and Mike Merles, the designer and implementer of that game.
I'm going with implementer.
I like that too.
Yep.
It's good stuff.
Yep.
And what else do we want to talk about for Betrayal at Baldur's Gate?
It's going to be so good, you guys. I'm telling you.
That's just it.
So good. Your new favorite board game.
We were talking about Axis and Allies, the anniversary edition.
Anniversary edition.
It's coming no longer on October 6th, but October 20th. Right?
Because October 20th is my dad's birthday, and I thought it would be a really cool thing for him to have a game release on that day.
That's important.
So we moved it.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's how we make our decisions.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Also, Hurricane Harvey.
We record all these on Twitch, these live episodes, and we've got tons of fantastic programming that's new that's coming on there. Yes. So if
I'm excited for Mike's show.
Yeah, we're going to have Mike's show. Right now, we've already started, I think there's been 2 episodes of Trump SC on Saturdays. Yep. Plays his show, which is called Heroes Graveyard, and it's with him and Koibu, who has been in a lot of the Misclicks episodes on the Misclicks. Nice. I'm forgetting what they've called it. Misclicks Risen, yes, Misclicks D&D Risen, which is fantastic. And that is happening at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays, and they have a new cast member, Curtis Weeb, who knows the Rat Queens. He's been on there for the last month or so, and been doing really good stuff there. And other things you might want to jump in to check out are Monday nights. Right after this, we have Rachel Seeley and Erica Fermini are going to be playing Neverwinter. They started new characters in Neverwinter, and they're just going up through, and they'll eventually get to Tomb of Annihilation content. So if you haven't been interested in what it's like starting out a new MMO character, they're super goofy and have a lot of fun, and play through it. It's good stuff. Also, Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms from Codename Entertainment. It's in alpha now. No, sorry, it's in early access. That's what it's called. You can get it on Steam right now. You can follow them at Idle Champions on Twitter and find out more about that. But you basically send your adventurers out on adventures, and they kill monsters, collect loot, and get all the gold from that. And but it's a light touch type game, so you can do a little bit of gameplay, let them play for a long time, and then go back and collect all the gold and stuff that's happening there. Tales from Candlekeep has been coming out in October. It's basically a board game representation of the game that WizKids is making. It's a Tomb of Annihilation board game, which is fantastic. And we've been playing that a lot also here in the office. Very, very fun game. Basically, we build out tiles and stuff, and you create a D&D adventure. It's kind of like D&D Light, similar to Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, but just like a different vein. It's like more all about what's happening in Shult and things like that. But there's a digital version coming out from our friends at BCom, and that's out in October. You can follow them at Tales Candlekeep. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
I think that's it, bro. Let's get right to this wonderful segment. It is lore you should know, and or sage advice, and or a new segment that I just made up, and we're going to call it Shelley Bowser Noble.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh no, it'll be one of those previous two. But we'll make to that those bings and those bongs right about now, and then we'll get to calling our friends.
Okay.
All right. Jeez Louise. a lot of shilling, man. We're like
So
40
much.
minutes behind.
Jeez.
It's 4:40.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Good thing I don't have daycare pickup.
I was trying to get you guys done with your interview.
I had a lot to say.
You had a lot to say. It's true.
I had too much shilling.
All right. Well, that was a really great episode, wasn't it?
So
A
good.
segment.
So good.
We learned so much
Yep.
about the things
So I
and the
love it.
stuff.
Yep.
And the adventures.
Good.
Did you know that Dungeons was initially called Dungeons and Dragons, but then they're like, let's just call it Or Dragons instead. No, that's not true. That joke totally didn't land. I'm a terrible person. I'm going to edit that, and we'll come back with another one later on, which will be just equally as bad. But let's
Dad
call
jokes.
up Josh and Bucky and get to talking to them about taking initiative.
Okay.
Sound like a plan? Oh, hey guys, how you guys doing?
Oh, hey guys.
Oh, hi.
Have you been there the whole time?
So weird.
What? No.
It's like on
Never.
Food
No,
Network.
we were just listening to your Dungeons or Dragons podcast, and it sounded fantastic.
Did you
Nice.
laugh at Greg's joke?
Of course I did.
Yeah.
I spoiled the punchline. I really did. I'm not going to lie. I really messed it up. I'm sorry about that.
I'm gonna try it again.
It's
Yeah, I'm
a
gonna
real
try-
bummer that it's an ampersand, because you really can't turn that into, well, anything.
Yeah, maybe it's a slash.
Yeah, there you go.
Dungeons slash Dragons. Yeah, either
It's just
or.
a horizontal dragon. There you go.
It's a problem for branding. You can't really get a slash out there, but ampersand looks good stuff.
yeah.
You wouldn't have cool water bottles.
Just a
or-
slash.
yeah, I know, right? How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
Doing great.
We just saw each other. Was that just Friday? Was that
That
really?
was Friday.
All right.
Yeah.
3 days ago.
Where?
In the New York City. These guys were like, "Oh, you're in New York. Let's go."
Yeah,
get
in
a
the
drink."
faraway demi-plane of New York City.
Oh, you guys are in New York City.
It's true. Yeah, they work in Chelsea.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. We work in the TV film post-production world
Cool.
out there.
Is that how you guys know each other?
No, Bucky and I have known each other since 7th grade.
Yep.
Oh.
Since we were like 12 years old.
Yeah.
Did you?
Isn't that cute?
Did your friendship form because of Dungeons and Dragons?
Part of it, yeah, actually.
Yeah, it was over video games and other stuff, and then all of a sudden we just had a D&D game and just been playing on and off ever since.
That's crazy. So you guys started up the Taking Initiative podcast. What can you tell us about that? When did you start doing that?
Well, we started releasing our content February of this year. Last year we decided that Josh wanted to start running a Curse of Strahd game, and in the background I was just like, you know what, I might as well just record this in case, like, you know, we want to use this for something later. And then I ended up recording the whole thing. I started editing a few episodes down just for fun on my own time. And then Josh had a fun meeting with a few friends of his for a show that he edited.
Yeah, so I am also the editor for the audio drama The Once and Future Nerd, and we had a big meetup of different podcasts there, like Wolf 359 and Spirits and all these other people. So it's a big creative space, and of course there was alcohol, and alcohol leads to asking things that maybe would cause other things to happen. So I'm like, hey, Christian, creator of Once and Future Nerd, would you like to host our pilot episode, which is definitely edited by now, but it's not? And he said yes. So he was like, cool, I'll put it up in like a month. So we went, okay. And we got our first episode ready. We started cranking them out, and we've been going bi-weekly ever since. So thanks to alcohol and podcast meetups, we were able to get a nice firm start into it.
Yep.
That's awesome. So that was your first time really recording? Was when you started that Curse of Strahd campaign? You'd never done anything in that vein before?
I mean, we never really recorded anything before, but before we played the Curse of Strahd game, we realized that we were kind of on and off for a while, and we kind of split. I was in school for a while upstate in New York, so we weren't really together yet. And then finally, when Josh actually got me the job where I work now, we all moved into the city together, and we were like, wait, we're all back together again. Let's start playing D&D again, because that's the greatest idea ever. So we got together and we were trying to figure out, who do we want to DM? What are we going to do? And Josh ended up running a small text campaign that we played over, I can't remember what system we used.
I think GroupMe. We basically ran the game. We all worked overnights, and we ran a campaign. I'm not going to say a whole campaign because there's only a couple sessions, because this was a batshit idea. We ran it all over text. And it was a little crazy.
Like text messages or like
Text messaging, yes.
Yeah.
What?
How is that possible?
It was possible, though not great.
It was hard.
You millennials.
So
You millennials.
Imagination.
Did you do it in Snapchat? Was this a Snapchat game? And they're like, oh, I can't read it
probably
anymore.
would have if we
Nick
gave him
probably
the
would
option.
have. Yeah. No, we all worked overnights, and we all lived in different areas. Like, I was still commuting from Long Island at the time. So on the way home on the LIRR, I would run the game. And Nick would be down the hall blasting Lord of the Rings music to get into the right mind space. And Drew would
like you do.
around and, like you do. And we ran it for a couple of games, and it wasn't working out great. So then Bucky was running a homebrew campaign for a while. And then we eventually got to the place of running Curse of Strahd, and now it is the thing that it is.
Yep.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's insane. So you guys, where did you grow up?
In the middle of Long Island in Suffolk County, the Shirley Mastic area. It's by like Smith Point Beach or like by the Hamptons, like 20 minutes west of there.
20 minutes west of the Hamptons.
And we
Nice.
grew up there together, and as we said, we've known each other since junior high, and best friends since then. So we've just been on ventures of things together.
So you mentioned that like you guys, your friendship formed from Dungeons and Dragons, but is that actually true? What was your first experience playing?
As in like D&D wise, or just anything?
Yeah, D&D wise.
D&D wise. So we were not the DM on that one.
Yeah, no.
It was for a friend of ours. We went to his house. I remember specifically, like, we had a blizzard weekend that we
Yep.
were there for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And there's two distinct things I remember from it. One being Bucky's never, ever, ever allowed to play my character ever again when I'm not there.
I'm not allowed to play
Oh,
Wizards
no.
anymore.
No, he controlled my character one time, and it was back in like 3.5 days where Magic Missile doesn't always hit, and he essentially brought a house down, and we lost like all the treasure we could possibly get, and
Yeah.
so he's not allowed to do that. And we also did something to one of our friends, which was not exactly the nicest of things.
No, it was
Oh.
not. We ended up locking him in a room with a dragon. I don't remember why we did that.
On
Either
purpose?
we were the assholes or he was. It was one of the two. Because we're the ones here, we're gonna say that we were not the ones.
Yes.
Right.
Why couldn't it be
but-
both of you? Why couldn't it be both parties?
Exactly. So we basically shut the door behind him. He made some checks. He failed terribly, and now that character's dead, and
Yep.
that's okay.
Oh. Are you still friends with that guy?
No.
No.
Not from that reason. It
No,
was
no,
just
no, it wasn't because of
pulling
that.
off. No, that was all in good game fun.
That's funny.
At least for us.
Yeah.
That's cool, but it sounds like you guys had a lively group that had a lot of memorable stories coming from it, like almost out of the gate.
Yeah, I wish I remembered more of them. It was more so because we were kids that I think I'm just missing some of those memories.
How
Yeah.
old were you?
We were 13, 14, and
Yeah.
now we're almost 30, so more
Yeah.
than half our life ago.
That's crazy
So-
to think about. That you're talking about the 3.5 era, but you're right. That's
When I learned.
that makes sense.
long time
That's
ago.
not
Yeah.
that. I mean, I was
Yeah.
only in my 20s really when that was happening too.
the 3.5.
Time is an illusion. Lunchtime, doubly so. But
Definitely. Yeah.
so, yeah. So when that was like your first kind of campaign that you guys did it a lot, and then what happened? How did you guys branch into? Like, when did you start DMing, Josh?
Honestly, taking initiative, like when you start House of Spooks episode 1, which is our first adventure, in the Death House, that was my first time DMing out loud.
Oh,
Whoa.
really?
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
It was I ran my game before that because we were trying to figure out who wanted to take the mantle of being the DM first. So I was like, you know what? We're not going to record anything. We're just going to have a fun game. I went on like a minis buying spree and bought a whole bunch of minis. I bought a bunch of like Dwarven Forge terrain blocks and like a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, I'm going to make a whole huge map and run this whole fun game for everybody. And I did it for a while, and then it got a little inconvenient from having to carry all this stuff all over the place all the time.
Right.
On the subways, which is a hassle. And finally, we were just like, you know what? Let's do an online-only game. And Josh was like, I'm really interested in running Curse of Strahd. I really want to run it. I think it's a really cool module and do that. And we were like, okay.
Kind of. I said I wanted to run a module, which I told them we were running Lost Mine of Phandelver.
Right.
So they made all their characters for a mod that they were expecting, and they listened to Adventure Zone. They were expecting, a very specific thing. And then the first session, in the middle of introducing Lost Mine of Phandelver, I put my book away. I took out the Curse of Strahd book, and I dumped him in a Barovia.
Yeah, it was not cool at all.
Whoa.
That sounds really cool. What are you talking about? Like that's the best.
Yeah, you can
I mean,
tell
it was cool
Greg's a
story-wise.
DM.
It was not cool for my character-wise.
No, because when I was reading Curse of Strahd, the whole idea that I got around it was Strahd takes advantage of people when they're at their not highest point,
Right.
or when it's advantageous for him. And taking a whole bunch of characters, so I'm essentially taking advantage of the players here. When they're making a character and they may be planning for a very specific type of adventure, I wanted to rip them out of that and dump them into somewhere where they were not expecting anything.
Yeah.
So it was a nice way, I thought, to pull the idea of Strahd and his temperament, but into the DMing style, which makes me a bit of an evil DM, which I've been called a lot lately, but it's worth it.
Are you an evil DM? Is that true?
I don't think so. I just blame it on the book. But then I came out with
the book made me do it.
Yeah, what?
I beg to differ.
That's the plot of the Care Bears movie, by the way.
Yeah.
The book made me do it.
Like, I've been getting hell about a specific animal dying in
I
the
see
campaign.
you laughing, Pelham.
And even, like, going home, my dad's like, really? Like, that's what you did to that thing? I'm like, I can't even come home? Like,
wow, your dad even got on your case?
Yep. I sat down for lunch. He pulled out, like, the burgers and hot dogs, sat down and was like,
we need to
I have
talk
no spoilers, so I won't say any names, but he was like, really, huh?
Does your dad... Does Dad play D&D?
No, I have tried, but no. He's probably listening right now, actually. But
Hi,
he
Dad.
has
Hey,
listened
Dad.
to the.
How you doing?
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
So he has listened to the podcast. He knows what's going on. Whenever I go home, like I get the questions
nice.
from him and stuff, and I get to answer what I can. But unfortunately, family doesn't play, but I get to talk about it, so they get it in some respect.
That's really nice
but-
that they're even that involved and interested.
Yeah. Does your
Yeah,
mom watch the
No,
Twitches?
she has no idea.
No.
She did watch the stream of Annihilation
Well,
when I
yeah.
was on it for
that
9
was-
minutes.
Right. But then you're like, Mom, I do this every week now. And she's like, no.
I don't know if I've actually told her.
I was hearing before
I'll text
how she listened to you and said, "I have no idea what you were talking about, but you sounded really excited
Yes,
about it."
she was really excited.
Yes.
Well, actually, I was thinking, now that you mentioned that, your dad, does he like board games?
Yeah, we do board games, and so I have Betrayal and House on the Hill.
Oh,
And I sat down with my mom and my dad, and I'm like, hey, so this is a little rules intensive compared to usual things because we like play Dominion and Lords of Waterdeep and those kind of games. So let's try it. We got to the Haunt, and I was really excited to start it. And they're like, yeah, I don't quite get what's going on, but this was cool, thanks. I'm like, but the Haunt, no.
but no, it's going to be totally different. Everything you already didn't know doesn't matter.
Yeah. But
So
then I got
there's
to play
going to be
with
new
Bucky
stuff
and
you
Free.
don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he would maybe like Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. If he
I'm
likes
looking
Lords of
forward to
Waterdeep.
Oh, so looking forward to that.
Yes,
You're laying it on
Baldur's
pretty
Gate,
thick there,
like you were
Sean.
asking before, what got me into
I'm
D&D.
trying to
or,
bring
like,
family together.
I do appreciate that. My toddler's into this kind of stuff, so I'm getting that part of the family at least on board.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I came out the other day in the morning, and Bucky still has his minis at my apartment, and I look out into the living room, and on the floor was, like, a half a bag of his minis out with all, like, the little bottle caps on them to specify, like, Hunter's Mark and all that stuff. And they were just in a line.
I was so proud.
That's
I was like, Uncle Bucky has given him inspiration to be a DM, and I'm so happy about that.
yeah. He's lining up a little OCD DM. My son does
yeah.
that too, though. He calls them baby monsters, and he's like, I want to go play baby monsters, and that's really just like lining them up and looking at them.
Yeah, and then chasing them around a little bit. Yeah. It was amazing seeing kids light up because at HasCon in Providence,
yeah,
a
we
lot of what
didn't
we
talk
did
about
was just have a table and then we had dice and miniatures out there. And it was amazing to seeing the kids, like, they were going from, for real friends and things that actually like walk around.
Right.
Like there was a R2D2 that was like doing all that stuff.
Cool.
And then they would come to our table and they're like, oh, is this a board game? I'm like, yes.
No.
And but the kids just wanted to play with the toys and they just wanted
And
to
put
get
them
that
in their mouths.
and put them in their mouths.
Yeah.
Definitely had a lot of D20s in kids' mouths. I had a few parents come up to me like, do you have any disinfectant? Because both of these were in my kid's mouth. I'm like,
boy.
I don't care. It's fine. And then I put them in my mouth and everybody was happy. No, but those are such an in for kids to like have this idea of play and toys. And they loved the dragons were big hits and the beholders were freaky enough for them to be like, well, what is this? And I'm like, well, those are ice stalks. And they all do different things. Like this one will put you to sleep and this one will disintegrate you. And they're all like,
Ooh.
yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah,
It's creepy.
He took out the monster manual and sat down with me. He wanted me to read him part of the monster
Oh,
manual.
that's so
I'm like,
cute.
dude, are you sure you're 3?
It's
And he was
in
like,
his
it's
DNA.
fine. I showed him, and he was like, it's scary. I'm like, it's not real. He goes, I know. I'm like, cool, fine, let's go. Let's go
My
through.
son's the same way. Like he loves looking at the D&D monsters. He loves looking at the monster manual. And then I had a copy of Us Weekly, and in the back of Us Weekly there was an ad for like this little porcelain baby monkey. super ugly, I will admit, but he started to cry. He saw that, he was like, oh my god, the baby monkey. And then he went to sleep later that night. He was like, I'm scared of the baby monkey. Like, we literally just read the monster manual, and you're totally
With
cool.
actual monsters that will, kill you.
There's a
and eat you.
monkey with a
Yeah.
pacifier.
Well,
He's it had really hairy arms. It was freaked him out.
I had the monster manual for a while, and I was doing that same thing where I was like, here, and this is the story of this, these are the giants, these are the dragons, which
Yeah.
they got into, right? And then I got Curse of Strahd, and I was flipping through that, and there was one picture that Fiona saw, and this was when she was like 2 or 3,
no.
and she was like,
Oh!
what is that? I told her a little bit about it, and then she's like, you could just tell she was like looking askance, like she didn't want to look at the book
Yeah.
really directly. I'm like, yeah, let's put this away. I don't want to have
You're
that
doing so well.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think your imagination is going, but I think it's started the reason why she likes fantasy stuff now a little bit more is because
Oh.
it's got that little bit of fear factor to
Yeah, I
it.
can see Fiona being into that.
Yeah.
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 She'll be a DM.
So good on you, Uncle Bucky, for making that happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something
Always
to
an
be proud
inspiration.
of.
Nice. How old is your kid, Josh?
3.5.
3.5. See, we're right in the same wheelhouse here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were swapping kid stories at the bar the other day. It was good. D&D, kids, good discussion, man.
Yeah, I know, right? When do you think you're going to get actually play a game with him?
I do video games with him already, so we already did some role playing stuff. He's made a WoW character before, made one in Final Fantasy 15. Sorry, not 15, 14. We play Minecraft and stuff. So we play games on that front. Playing an actual D&D game, I don't know.
I can write one for him.
Yeah, we can write one.
I can write a kids friendly.
So you run into Strahd.
D&D game.
You think you're going to play this cute game, but then there's
Yeah.
this mist. And
There's the twist.
Yeah, I did the precursor. The other day, we were on Long Island, didn't have any books, so I ended up just making up stories, as you do as a DM. And he really enjoyed that. I was helping him, he was telling me what the characters' names are and what they'd be doing. So I was going at it at a storyline aspect to kind of prime him for the later days. But I feel like he needs to be able to count and read first. So we'll get past that point and then probably dip in.
That's how you can teach him how to count and read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's true.
Nice.
I just
He's gonna
made
be
a
ahead of the
behavioral
game
term to
now.
help that.
Yeah, my oldest is 6, and she's getting. I'm like, she's gearing up. I mean, now
Oh,
she's got
she's
the math and the reading down, and now I wanna, she's already pretending. I think she would love the Badger story. She loves if we play Betrayal Baldur's Gate, she would definitely want the thing where she can
She would
turn
be a badger.
into different animals. That's her dream come true.
Oh.
Yeah, I think
I
she's.
don't know that she'd want to kill everybody.
She'd wanna
once
be a-
she was a badger, but Fiona maybe.
Yeah, Fiona, actually, that's much more up her alley for sure. Nice.
So Greg tells me that the
Podcast of Annihilation.
Podcast of Annihilation was your idea, Josh.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened right after the stream of Annihilation. I was on Will or Encounter Roleplay's stream the next day, and we were discussing Tomb of Annihilation since it was just brand new news and Xanathar's got everything, and we were just going through it, and it sounded great, and we were on board with the concept, and I went to bed, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden I just sat right up and went, what about podcast, though? And I went back to sleep. And
Oh.
the next day, I'm like, what about podcast, though? And I just kept thinking about it a little bit. And then I walk into the data room where Bucky and Drew...
I remember this because we all work in the same building too. So I remember he walked into the office that we work in, and Drew, who's another member of Taking Initiative, he sits next to me, and we work literally and sit next to each other all the time, and we also live together,
a lot
so
of
we see
together
each
time.
other too much. And we were both working, and Josh just walks in and is standing there with this pensive face on, and we're sitting working, and then a minute goes by, and he's just standing there, and then I look at him and I go, yes, can I help you? And he's just sitting there because I can look at him, and since we've been friends for so long, I know the look on his face, and I'm like, you have something in your head, you want to say it, but you don't want to say it because as soon as you do, now it's a real thing,
Yep.
and we're going to tell you that you have to do it. So he turns to us and says, I came up with an idea, and I want to run it past you guys. So he told us the whole idea of Podcast of Annihilation, and we were like, great, make it a thing. And he was like, how, though? And I looked at him and was like, what do you mean, how? Email Wizards of the Coast. Slide into Greg's DMs. Do something.
Slide on in.
Sounds
Yeah, so
weird.
I went back to the room, and then I sat
Swipe
there for
right
a
on
while.
my DMs.
I went back to the room, and I was just like pacing a little bit, looking down. I typed it all up. I messaged Will from Encounter Roleplay, telling him about the idea, and Joel from D&D is for Nerds. And I'm like, hey, if I pitched this thing, would you guys be interested in doing this too? And they're like, yeah, of course we are. What are you, dumb? Yes, absolutely. So after a little bit, and I sent it to the Wizards Twitter, I didn't really hear anything back yet, and I was about to give up. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Then went back to Bucky and Drew, and they're like, send it to Greg. Go. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I sent it to Greg, and Greg was phenomenal about it. So thank you very much, Greg,
Yes,
for
thank
taking
you.
up the idea.
No problem. It was good stuff. When I see good ideas, I'm like, yes, of course. Why wouldn't we? It was such a good idea that I was ashamed I hadn't thought of it first.
You told everyone that it was your idea.
That is
until right now,
patently
I'm
false.
kind of
I'd always
surprised.
be like, they pitched me this thing.
I got this idea.
I was 5 in the morning. I was pacing. I just done.
And I said, what about podcasts?
I know. I just done a stream with Will from Encounter Roleplay. Right. No, but it was what I loved the people who create audio drama podcasts, and I was always my dream was when we got the D&D channel going that we would like convince more of you guys to go into video streaming, kind of.
Right.
Was the idea. It was like, I know they make really good audio, but I think they can transition into video as well. So that was always part of it. But then I was like, but then you were like, well, there's something pure about the audio form in itself too. So why not highlight that as well? So
Yes. Especially like as a career in post-production, I'm an online editor, so I'm an editor professionally, and when I go home, I edit Bucky's episodes that he passes to me, so I'm always editing. So podcast, in a way, for me, is my edit vent. It's how I get to apply what I know and my craft to that. If I do it on a stream, I don't get to edit. It's just run-of-the-mill stuff of whatever comes out. And
Shelly wants to edit out her face that she just made. She wants to be like, nope, get that out of there. I'm like, no, we can't. It's live. It's out in the
my
world
real
now.
face.
Sorry,
There's no
sorry,
editing.
folks. You're going to be able to see it now. You can watch your own face in a second. Yeah, you're about to do it. Oh, yeah, he does. Oh, my God.
So we like with the streams, we also say things when we're recording that we're like, well, that's not going in the episode, and you can't really do that when you're streaming. So it's a nice way to filter yourself too, and kind of hone it in and make it more of an audio drama, which is what we tend to do. Is we concentrate on the story and the characters, and we do have humor because we are always making
still
fun of
playing a
all
game,
each other.
so.
We're still playing a game, and we have those moments. Like we'll cut music in the middle of like Nick botching his accent, or someone saying something really off kilter, and we're like, guys, really, you can't know. And we just cut music and just go into it. It's a lot of fun. But to go back to your earlier point of how this idea came about, like our podcast is called Taking Initiative. It's taking what we have and what we can do and going as far as we can with it and stretch further. And the idea of collaborating with other podcasts, which we thankfully got to do with this, is amazing because you get to deal with everyone's different styles, different DMing, different players and how they run their characters, and you get to learn together and experience what a dynamic will be when you're with a different group of people. And that was one of the main parts of POA, and why I wanted to do this was to help share that idea, just as you did with the Stream of Annihilation.
Nice, yeah, and it makes perfect sense, and I agree too that there's a specialness to both forms, like the improv nature of video and being able to see characters react in real time is there's something really powerful about that, but there's also something really powerful about how you guys build in sound effects and music, and you're right, even just editing the stories down a little bit so it doesn't feel quite so drawn out or like I think there's pros and cons to both, and people definitely in the audience prefer one over the other, or both. They're like, I'm in the mood for this, or I'm in the mood for that. So there's room for both. So we're this podcast of Annihilation came at the perfect time when we're open to more stuff like this, and I think maybe we'll do, I don't know, maybe Dungeon Delve kind of will do more of these things going forward. I seem like a lot of people who were doing it, as far as for me listening to these episodes, really like the idea of moving forward with the stories. So I hope more and more people do as many episodes as they can, and we'll be happy to host them.
Agreed. Yeah, we'll be continuing our story a little bit past the POA episode. So we'll have, I think, 6 or 7 other episodes, and they'll be coming out in October, running every other week against our Curse of Strahd storyline right now, which is the Barovian Rhapsody storyline. Story arc.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll be coming out probably until November, maybe December or so.
In which we were also one of the lucky games that got to bring in a couple guests from some of the other podcasts to join our game, and it gave us like a nice fresh look, because like we're so used to playing our game with our group of friends and do all these things, and bringing in people from other podcasts and styles and all these things. It really adds an extra level of just fun to what we're doing, and we're always reminded that this is a game and that we're still having fun, even though we're still trying to tell a story at the same time.
Yeah, and especially bringing Adam and Joel in from D&D's for Nerds and Sage from the Venture Maidens. Adam and Joel specifically, we've been listening to their podcast since around the time that they started, a year, 2 years ago or so. I think like 2 years ago. So getting to work with people that we've listened to and really enjoyed and knew their style, and getting to experience that in a different way was fantastic to do.
It's good stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
And as you said, I like that it kind of will cross-pollinate and get more inspiration back and forth. And you know, I love seeing that. It's kind of like
absolutely.
It's kind of like what Dungeons and Dragons does, you know, like that.
It is. It's interesting because, like I was telling you before, we saw this at the stream of Annihilation 2. You guys are not competitive with one another.
No,
absolutely not.
You're like the complete opposite. Like you're helping to support each other and promote each other and build awareness for each other and putting each other on each other's streams and podcasts.
Yeah.
It is very telling of the D&D community.
Yeah, and even like there is a mindset that you can have of like, okay, after this event, we'll just be doing what we were doing beforehand and not really continuing to talk, but hi. But that didn't go with us. Like we already recorded something, we won't say what, with Celeste from the Venture Maidens the other day.
There's secrets?
There's secret stuff. We have Lauren from Dungeon Drunk is going to be hopping on another project. So we're already working with other things later on. Like we already started working with other people. We got Zach Valenti from Wolf 359, the audio drama, to voice Strahd in our game. So we already started reaching out.
That's awesome.
Zach is so good.
I am so jealous of his velvety, smooth Strahd voice. I hate it.
Yeah, if you want to hear it, maybe listening to today's episode would be a good place to start.
I think I'm going to listen on my way home.
You should.
I am.
Yeah, it may
Did you have a 2.5 hour commute?
Now. Yeah.
It's raining out, so yes.
Just real quick for those of on the Twitch channel who are waiting for Forrest Gray, we're just finishing up this interview. We should be starting in the next like 5-10 minutes, but we wanted to just highlight some of the fun stuff that's going on here, and we're going a bit long, but definitely we'll be having more Forrest Gray coming very soon. So, yeah, thank you for coming in and paying attention. But just want to make sure you guys know what the deal is. We'll be talking probably for another like 4 or 5 minutes, and then get right to Forrest Gray episode 8 very soon.
Cool.
But that'll be edited out, right? I'll be.
Yep.
There you go. I'm pointing to Ryan, who's like, oh God, how dare you?
Yeah, like we also not even just cross-pollinated with other D&D podcasts, but we also took people that we've worked with before in the past and brought them into this. Like
we've started to build like a small community of our own, of like people that we want to reach out to, and people who are struggling with their podcast. Maybe like they also do actual play copy podcasts, and they want some insight or feedback from someone. We have reached out to other podcasts, and we've begun basically building what we call the Spark Network. Which we've brought in one podcast, the Nerds on a Roll, who are huge friends of ours. They are awesome people, and we've been working with them also. And we have another podcast in the future who's going to be joining the show, and we are working towards a future project together where we are all going to be working together in making one big show come to life.
Wow.
So we're, again, like trying to build that desire to be inclusive and include everybody and tell the story in the best possible way that we can.
Yeah, and also Katie Kawaguchi from Nerds on a Roll is the one who designed our Hackenstone's Gambit logo. So we got her for our artwork. We also had Neil Martin, who was from Adventures Anonymous a little while ago. He ended up doing like our theme music. So we were able to get a couple people that we've become friends with through this little podcast journey and still work together, even though they don't really work on D&D content necessarily or as of now. we were able to still extend to a little bit wider of an audience, which is what we're all about. The collaborative nature, as you were saying before, Shelley, is what D&D's all about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we love that through the audience that Dungeons and Dragons has as a whole, that we could point to, hey, these are some of these great creators you may not know, maybe you know of one or two of them. Here's a way to get access to a whole bunch of ones you might not have been exposed to before. So that was a big goal for us, was to make sure that you guys got a new and different audience that may be aware of you that may not have been before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
And it's also cool that everybody went in a totally different direction. Like, I think there was some trepidation from the Dungeon Masters when we were first talking about this idea. They were like, well, what if we do the same thing? It's going to be, I don't know. And then, like, everybody's ideas were completely different. And there was that's kind of the nature of Dungeons and Dragons also, but like even if it was the same idea, I don't think the games would have been that big of a deal. But everybody took different parts of the Tomb of Annihilation storyline, which we gave to you guys, 2 months ahead of time, a couple months ahead of time, so you could digest a little bit. But each of you took inspiration and went a completely different route, which is fantastic.
They were blatantly different paths. Like, I was looking at the spreadsheet of where people were going, well, we're fine.
Yeah.
So
I'm so excited to finally dissect that book. Now that we're done, I want to go through the book that Josh has and just read every single page and be like, what did you do?
How did you hurt me?
The evil DM.
Which the part that I did, it was only based on the Executioner's Run in Port Neon Sorrow, which, as you guys know, is like a quarter of a page. But I turned it into the 2-hour thing that we did. Yeah. So I'm like, go ahead, read it. You won't get it.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Yeah, I love it. It's up right now on the Dungeon Delve feed. So those of you watching on Twitch, go ahead and go check that out. It's on iTunes and also available if you're just interested to find out more about these groups. It's dnd.wizards.com/POA. You'll find out everything about the podcast of Annihilation from there, as well as the schedule. I think we're going to do 2 today. So we had Nerd Poker and Taking Initiative on the first day, and then we'll be doing 2 for the rest of this week. So those of you in podcast land who are listening to this a couple weeks later, they'll be all up, and you can download them all, and just binge listen to them, which is going to be tons of fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for stopping by and talking about this. Again, it was a really great idea. Thanks, Josh, for having it.
Yeah.
and
send more ideas.
Yeah.
Send them our
Sure,
way.
I heard I need to have 6 ideas or so.
Yes.
From what you're saying before.
Anything, like if you have ideas about marketing board games.
Shelly's just in the. She doesn't want to think anymore. She just wants to implement.
I'm done.
She's going to implement others' ideas, but also just want to heads up to Bucky for you in encouraging him to pitch it out to us. I think that's a very vital part, not only just of friendship, but of any creative endeavor, is to have the first person you tell it to be like, yeah, make it happen.
Do it.
I'm very happy to be a figure of motivation in a lot of my friends' lives and just in general.
Yeah, it's very well received. Thank you.
As a former creative person who has brought it to someone, brought an idea to someone, and whatever. But like having like an idea and then have someone be like, yeah, as the first reaction, you're like, oh, I guess I won't do it then.
Yeah.
And so having that first positive reaction is super vital, and so that's why we're hiring you, Bucky, to follow around. Yeah, just follow around us all the time, and just be like, yep, that's a great idea, make it happen.
Oh, I'll absolutely do that.
Isn't that Nathan's job?
Tell me when to start.
There's no pay.
Yeah.
I'll still be there. It's fine.
All right, good. Phew. All right, you guys are fantastic. We got to throw this to some Force Gray, so unfortunately we got to let you go. But we'll have some of the other creators on from the podcast of Annihilation. We'll talk about their story and how you pitched to them, or how I pitched to them, or whatever happened. And
I want to hear more of the story.
Exactly. There's
behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Do you guys want the Twitter handles by chance, real quick?
Yeah,
that's right. Thank you for that.
All good, John.
If you want to find us on Twitter, you can go to @TI_pod. That is our Taking Initiative Twitter handle. For all the other social media, you can go to our website, thespark.network, and you'll find information about us, our show, and all of our podcast information is there, as well as all our social media. Me personally, I am Bucky_Masters on Twitter.
And I am @Xyroxis the Beard, which is @XIROXIS the Beard.
That's hard.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Do you regret that?
An easy one. You're welcome. It's usually my character name that I used to go to. That's where it came from.
Nice. That was great before you started doing podcasts. Then you have to say that out loud like 90 times.
Oh yeah, I realized how shitty that was later. Yeah.
Sorry, I just did the opposite of Bucky, where I was like, not so much on that name.
Yep. See, that's right. You need a Bucky.
I need a Bucky. Yeah. Am I your Bucky, Shelley?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Dang it.
We're working on it.
All right.
Remember,
we're lifting
trying
ourselves
to
up.
lift each other.
We're lifting each other up.
We're
That's good
lifting
stuff.
each other up.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and you are fantastic. And keep telling each other that you're amazing, because you are.
You are.
It's good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, Greg. Nice meeting you, Shelley.
Yes, you
meeting
too.
Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Oh, they're so nice.
They are really
I
nice
like that
folks.
they're just like best friends.
They're all
and
besties.
They just support each other
I
and
know.
work together.
That made me cry in the cockles of my heart.
Oh,
It's good stuff. Yeah,
warms
for
your
sure.
cold black heart.
I know. It's usually full of coal and water bottles and coffee. All right. So Twitch folks, we're going to say goodbye to
Bye,
you.
Twitch folks.
And we'll record a quick outro. Or maybe we could have done it just now, but I feel bad for everyone who's in here waiting for Force Grey, because it's an awesome episode. Episode 8 is going to drop right now. And we mentioned this early on, but those of you who are here now, we're going to start thinking about doing 2 Force Grey episodes. So I know you were here waiting, but I think the good news of next week, next Monday, you'll be able to watch possibly 2 episodes back to back of Force Grey instead of just the 1 half-hour episode. So today we're going to have episode 8 running for you right about now. That's it for Dragon Talk. We start here at 2 p.m. Pacific time with Lore You Should Know. So if you want to, you can come in and listen to some of us. All right. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who
Bye.
subscribed today. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.